I was asked to speak about trends in social media, which seems to be my new guiding theme because it's the third time in 3 weeks that I was asked to speak about this. And I think that's happening partly because we're in the dawn of a new year and a new decade, the second decade of social media. And there's also something bigger going on, I think, and that's we're at a flex point. Previously, social media has been this disruptive force, and it's great to say this following the announcement that Mubarak has stepped down. For 10 years, social media has pushed itself into just about every institution. Certainly business, education, government, religion, communications, news, entertainment. And wherever it's pushed it, it's changed it. One of the first arguments I've had, of many arguments with Shel was I made a comment when we first met many years ago, and I said, social media is going to change everything. And he looked at me and smiled as if he was talking to a slightly slow sixth grader. And he said, nothing changes everything, but something can change a lot of things. And that's turned out to be fairly prophetic because the period of pushing has ended, and as you turn around, social media is no longer a disruptive force. It's becoming part of normalization. And I would term the new era an age of normalization in social media. We're going to stop using social media to talk about social media and start using it to do our jobs. In the enterprise, it's no longer going to be a poorly funded skunk works with a gang of evangelistic zealots charging up hills. People are going to come into the office and say, here's where you sit, here's your email account, here's the way we use handles on Twitter and Facebook and so on, and use these tools to get the job we just hired you to get done. I think in large organizations, there will be a social media box. It won't answer to marketing because that makes it a tool of marketing. It won't answer to IT because that makes it a tool of the geeks. It'll be an empowerer for the rest of the organization so that they can understand how to use the tools better in whatever part of the organization they're in. So, under the age of normalization, I see several things going on. One of them is what I call braided journalism. Braided journalism began for me with the concept of traditional media. I sure wish Chris Anderson hadn't left right now, but traditional media has gone through a decade of budget cuts. Before we get into big media companies and the politics of it all, it's every time there's a cut, there are fewer stringers, fewer correspondents, fewer reporters, fewer people in the traditional networks to get the information and bring it to you. A while ago, let's go back 2 years to Iran, we could go back further, but Iran's a good place. The press had to retreat, and people on the street started giving us news, which the press at first discounted, disdained, said it wasn't credible, couldn't be filtered, and in the end started repeating what they said. A week ago, the New York Times, in its Twitter account, came on and said, we have limited access to what's going on in Egypt. If you're there, please send us pictures, please send us posts of things that you're seeing. We're becoming the feet on the street for traditional media. And while we're on the subject of traditional media, I think a 25-year period of decline may be ending. I think that traditional media that still exists have discovered that the love of the physical paper isn't what it's about. It's an organization that can deliver news about what's happening around the world or around the corner. And that it is simply going to be integrated into social media itself. It is going to be talking with people in two directions. It's going to be getting its information through this braiding. But the braiding goes further because now there's companies like Dell, like Best Buy, several others who recently have hired traditional journalists, I'm one of them occasionally, to go in and cover their companies, their customers, as if they were third-party journalists. So when I wrote for Dell, I didn't write as, here's Dell, I'm a PR guy, isn't Dell great? I went in there and asked the same questions I would if I was writing for Business Week. And then I reported on it, and then they published it this way. From their view, they get greater credibility, and besides that, they're not getting the coverage they used to get in traditional media. Same reason the Pentagon created Bloggers Roundtable, because they found they could get better, deeper, more thoughtful coverage from bloggers than they could from traditional media. My friend Tom Foremsky says every company is now a media company, and I think in the next few years we're going to understand that's a very big idea. And the entire way companies talk to their customers through social media is we're going to see this as the dark ages and what's going on now. Secondly, and I think this is again a big part of the age of normalization, is the boundaries are blurring between the boxes. Now companies like SAP and IBM are using online communities to talk to customers about how they make their products and services better. And they go back and forth. No, they do not make forward-thinking statements about the next launch. It's more of a collaborative form. So what you have is companies listening to customers before they make it so that they don't have to have marketers try to sell the customers what they didn't want to begin with. This works for everybody. It cuts the cost of marketing. It cuts the time to market, it improves products, it increases customer loyalty. It's been going on for 5 years, but 5 years ago this was revolutionary, and now it's becoming a business process. It's just a more modern way of doing business. Much of the attention has been, in the last year particularly, on huge social networks such as Facebook, Twitter, and the rest. The numbers are really interesting because this is social media, and then we have something called mass media, and Facebook has more followers than all the American mass media TV programs, TV channels combined. So which is mass media and which is social? Well, certainly traditional television isn't social, but what has happened is while we're gaining a great deal with these super social networks, we're losing what we went there for to begin with. We went there to begin with to talk to people like us about topics that we share. Whether that topic was Web 2.0, social media, hummingbirds, hummers, religion, or terrorism. And so now there are all these little tiny networks. Some of them, what's the other Chris Anderson's company? The Social Network. No, the other Chris Anderson. No, I'm sorry, wrong person. Andreessen. Mark Andreessen. I'm thinking of a name. It's old Shel. He don't remember so well. He's young Shel. Ning has hundreds of little tiny networks planning reunions, or there's one in there that I love for 49 Hudson car fans. I didn't know there had been a 49 Hudson, but there are things that predate me. We're going to start joining little organizations. If you think about it right now, you can think of 6 topics that you'd like to talk online efficiently with people all over the world on a single subject, no matter what it is you're interested in. I think niche networks are going to be very big moving forward. Every time I'm on a panel on the subject of trends, somebody says something profound. Mobile's going to be very, very big. Wow. Cloud is going to be very, very big. These are not trends. These are just self-evident truths, and they're good for business planning. The trend is that computing is going to be ubiquitous, or connection is going to be ubiquitous. And wherever you are, whatever you do, whether it's handheld, desktop, the back of a Las Vegas bathroom stall, it will come where those digital signs are in the men's rooms of Vegas. you're going to have access to a computer connection. You're going to be able to get your stuff. You're going to be able to talk to the people you talk to wherever you are, and the device becomes unimportant. And that leads to the other blurring that is going on, that there are now new companies, Livefire is one, Echo, who just had a news conference, is another, who are just letting you see your stuff in one place, whether, I said your stuff, let's make that conversations in one place that are relevant to you. So it can be your blog comments, it can be a single page where you go and you see what people are saying about the shocking victory of the Boston, of the Lakers, that's what they call it, over the Boston Celtics last night. And you can look on one page and see what people had to say, people you know or people you want to follow had to say. And it doesn't matter whether they posted that on Twitter, on their blog, or on a niche network. It's just going to be as relevant where it's posted as it is today. If you're waiting for a package and let me rephrase that. If you're waiting for a package, you don't stop and say, I hope it comes in FedEx instead of UPS. You just want the package. And that's what's going to happen with all these little puddles of conversation all over the place. It isn't going to matter where it got sent from. You're going to receive it wherever you want. This is something I've been predicting for years, and I think we're actually starting to make some progress in that direction. And that's the concept of universal translation. I got into social media on a non-business basis so much as just this belief that if everybody could just get to know everybody else, we would find more common ground and less reason to want to hate each other. And that's a very noble thought, and it doesn't pay for the business quarter, but it was my entry point into all of this. And back then, we used to talk in sci-fi terms about the idea that I could sit at my computer and I could talk or enter data into that computer in my language. And you could see it in your language, and you could respond in your language, and I would receive it in my language. And we could have 10 people in 10 languages all over the world talking in one place at the same time about the same issue, and we would all understand each other. In the last year, some things have started happening, not from companies like Dragon Systems that have been promising this for decades now, but little companies. One of them is WordLens. WordLens is basically, it's an iPhone app, and you hold it up to a sign that's written in Spanish, and you read it on your iPhone in English. And someone in Spanish can look at it and read the English sign in Spanish. And it's a step. It's no big thing. There's another company whose name I have forgotten that is starting to combine machine and natural language translation on an iPhone app so that I can listen to what he says in Hebrew and hear it in my language, Chinese. Yeah, actually, it does 26 languages in Hebrew and Chinese, and 2 of them. I'm told it's very clumsy, but it's new. Everything is clumsy when it's new. Google Translate was very clumsy. We used to make fun of it 2 years ago. And now I speak to people in China when they're in Chinese and we understand each other. It's a bit clumsy moving it around. I want a push button, but we're getting there. So I think a decade from now, the concept of this holy grail, this universal translation, will be a reality.